Hello guys, my name is Adam Shadow, and this machine behind me is another important safety measure for storage devices. This thing, similar to my previous video, is also a machine that filters out unwanted input into your storage. It basically performs a simple validation of the Shulkerbox by taking out the first item that is inside of it and checking if the item is stackable or not. Stackable meaning something like normal items like, for example, redstone or TNT. And unstackable items are typically stuff like diamond swords and armor and tools and similar things, even filled buckets or potions also are in this category. The important thing about this is it also lets through stuff like boxes full of buckets or ender pearls, which are only stackable to 16, not to 64. However, that is typically also what you want, because especially Shulkerbox storages like the USS that I'm currently designing are capable of sorting such items. For example, in these sorters here, you can still put an ender pearl here at the beginning. Let me show you how. And I don't know, let's put a bunch of gunpowder, the rest. And I think I activated something. You can still do this, maybe not with the exact design like this one, but with a little bit of modification you can still allow items like these to go through. Therefore, this machine allows you to eliminate just those few unwanted boxes. The limit of this machine is only the first item it checks, so it doesn't check the rest of the items. So if you somehow manage to put in a box that's, let's say, full with swords but starts with an arrow, then you are kind of screwed, because it will still go through this system. Therefore, I'm not sure if we will actually implement it to the super storage, because I'm also playing on quite advanced technical server where most people know how these machines operate. So, as you can obviously see, this is quite complicated, so not something anyone can build. And these people are also capable of telling if they have not put in an incorrect input. Like a wrong filled box or items into the slots where boxes should go into, because that's also something we will need to pre-sort. This is the by far most compact configuration I could come up with. As you can see by the lava, this machine loses items, because if you check if the item is stackable or not, you have two options, or maybe three, depends on how you interpret it. You can either attempt to put the item back into the box, which is far more complicated and annoying to do, or you just accept the fate of the item and destroy it, or send it into some sort of secondary storage where you might even want to check if those items are stackable or not again. So that, for example, if you put an elytra at the beginning of your box, it won't get destroyed. In this configuration, it gets destroyed, because I just decided to make it the most compact. You can simply replace the lava here by a line of droppers. And for example, put a line of observers going like this and like this, so you can easily power it. Of course, here you wouldn't need to put a solid block in and make the redstone line a bit longer, but that's not a huge deal. So, how do we do such a complicated logic? Because this sounds quite untrivial if you ask me, how do we take out just the first item and then we somehow sort the box? In this machine, it's done using a really nice trick I discovered, and that is the use of the Hopper clock or delay, because a Hopper cannot do a lot of things at the same time. It can only do probably one thing, either take in items or push them through, and there is a certain delay between the actions. Therefore, if you put a line of hoppers, they won't transport the item instantly. So, what happens when we put a box here? It will get destroyed after 8 game ticks, or after 8 game ticks this piston will fire. So if I power this rail line here, it dispenses the box, then we have 8 game ticks of delay, it extends the piston, which will result in a very specific case of just the one item going into this hopper and into this dropper, and the box not being sucked into the hopper. It gets just pushed off of it by the help of the piston. The second thing that happens here, I'm sorry for the Discord sounds, I'm not sure if you can hear them, but they are quite annoying. That happens here is that the item gets checked by the comparator. Therefore, we have here the delay here on the top, which is another 6 game ticks. And that is to give the comparator enough time to check it, and then it activates the piston and this dropper here again. The reason why I do this is because this ensures that for each box that goes through, this dropper gets activated twice. Therefore, I can be sure that no items from the previous box can be here. So even in some crazy case of a critical failure, if for some reason the server lags out and the box gets sucked in, it will just destroy the box instead of breaking the entire machine. So therefore this machine is self-stabilizing. So it fixes itself even in case of severe issues. There is another way to do this, if you really want to. You can also detect the signal here and use an observer instead of this trapdoor. That's also an option. I think this is way simpler, because this enables me to use the shortest possible delay, and here it will activate only after the comparator is activated. Therefore this allows the machine to run at a higher rate. The signal then gets transferred into this piston. It gets transferred in a form of a 2 game tick pulse, just to prevent the piston from activating more than once or being stuck activated. This delay here is quite important and also quite, let me say it this way, adjustable, because it depends on how fast the box falls from here down here. So depending on how much your server lags or some various inconsistencies, this could be shorter or longer. Of course, making it longer is not an issue, you just add comparators and stuff like that. I just went for one that would be the same width here. This is probably also the shortest one. well, not the shortest delay, but the shortest circuit. So, what happens when the signal arrives? That means that the box had the unstackable item at its first slot. Therefore, the piston here will push the box off of the source end, similar to the previous machine, into the water stream. The difference is that the incorrect boxes will land in the water stream, while here the correct boxes will land in the water stream. But that's a minimal technical difference. You can, just like in that design, you can replace this ice block with a hopper, or maybe not. This maybe one block lower, and then have either a dropper line or a hopper line or whatever you decide you want. This is just probably the simplest way to do it. These glass blocks here are mostly caused by my paranoia of Minecraft's collision mechanics with entities. So the entity has practically no chance of flying out of the machine. So at least that should prevent losing as many boxes as possible. And here, these fences, they can be, you can use cobble walls or just the normal fences or the netherrack ones or whatever ones you like. It cannot be anvils because they are too wide. You can see these 2 pixels are not enough for the item to squeeze through. So that's a bit of a limitation. And also placing anvils here would be kind of tricky, since the piston will not allow you to have them standing on a block. You can also use glass panes or iron bars or these kind of things that are not completely covering the entire block in the width. Also, you can't use chests because they're also too wide. It's mainly there to prevent the box from flying from here directly into the water stream or a hopper or whatever you put down there. So, to demonstrate you how this operates, I already filled this with proper shulker boxes full of just redstone dust and ones that are full of stone axes, just to remind people how the life was in the past, where everyone was equipped with a bunch of stone axes. Here at the bottom, we also then, after the process is finished, we attempt to suck in the item into this hopper and send it through the dropper line, similar to this previous design. Basically, if the box is incorrect, it won't suck it in and it will go away in the water stream. This design is also one-wide tileable. These things here are just instant lines. You can make a bunch of them and then add the design into them. You could also theoretically use non-instant lines and have gaps in between or something like that. That's also a possibility. So, let me show you how this works. So it has the similar concept of the previous design, where it basically just has a set of these lines that get activated and deactivated. Here we have just 2. So we activate the first one, and as you can see, the incorrect box was sent to the water stream. Now we obviously don't suck in any items. Now it won't get sent into the water stream, and we can take it in. As you can see, this works with practically 100% reliability. I have not found a case where this would break. I have tested this quite a lot. I'm not sure what happened there. Oh, okay. As you can see, the thing might break sometimes. However, I'm not sure if this is fixable, and that's due to the way hoppers work in 1.12. I originally made this in the newer versions. I'm pretty sure they changed something about it. You can maybe adjust this by using a piston with a block or locking the hopper. However, this is incredibly unlikely. I just wanted to demonstrate this to you how this might happen. As you can see, it happened again because I set it up so that this happens. I intentionally lagged the server a little bit to do this. One important thing to remember about this is, like I said, even if this would happen in like 100 times or 1,000 times to you when you are working with this, it's not a huge deal. You can fix it. And especially the newer versions, pistons push items a bit differently. Therefore, it's also practically impossible. And like I said, if you are really skeptical, you can just move this piston here and use a sticky piston and move a block. However, then you will have some issues with powering this dropper. But if you really want so, you can do that. It will be just larger. So, this is probably it for the machine. I will also show you a bit of an update of the ultimate storage system. My huge thanks goes to CheaterCodes, who showed me the design that is used here for the transportation of the item here horizontally in this pipe. He came up with a really effective way to do this using two different types of rails. I wasn't even considering it previously. I was just determined to use one type of rails, and I didn't realize this would be an option. He also came up with what I mentioned in one of the videos, that you could theoretically move the rails up and save on a couple of servers, and he found a layout that will work when you do it. And this has also the insane ability that it works in also the future versions. Unlike the previous design, which, if you remember, we had to do some changes in between versions. Like here, this is like the really old design, and here we needed to move the observer. I also just slightly modified it, the front of this, using the layout CheaterCodes showed me, and I managed to save up on a bunch of observers here and make it a lot faster. This design is also faster, like it saves one game tick. No, sorry, two game ticks, one observer, because normally, if you remember, in here we had an iron door with another observer, and this observer is not present in the newer design. Therefore, you save two game ticks and you save the observers. Here I needed to add two game ticks because I wanted to squeeze in the redstone part here, which is also faster than the previous design. Also saves a bunch of observers. This took me quite a while to find out, because here we are powering this block, so to not add delay here, which we want to keep as low as possible, I need to basically swap between the a newer type, the old type, and again to the newer type to do this. Also, Redstone works in pretty much the opposite, updates in pretty much the opposite order to Rails. Rails updates uh, from the furthest one from the power source. In this case, this is the power source. Therefore, this updates the first, second, third, and so on. With Redstone, this works in a much more reasonable way. Here we have the power source, this observer right here. So this updates first, then this, and so on. Therefore, we don't need another line to power it somewhere here. I also swapped these rails for some golden rails, so it's more reminiscent of the actual design. I'm more often than not using activator rails just to demonstrate it, but golden rails are way cheaper to get, which sounds quite crazy, but gold is much easier to get in Minecraft, at least in 1.12, and probably even in the future versions, because you don't need villagers and stuff like that. You can just make a simple pigment farm. Here I needed to add these slabs so the power from the observer will not activate the rails and cause it to work like a clock. So yeah, that's about it for today. Thank you guys all for watching. Please like and subscribe, and comment down in the comment section any improvements for this or ideas that you have found how to make this better, or if you want to use it yourself. Any feedback is nice. Bye.